Action figure reboots. Sponsored by Pearson Art.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're looking at Mego Robin Hood, released in 1975 as part of the Super Merry Men line. Yes, you heard that right. Super Merry Men. Says it right on the box. Super Merry Men. I'm sorry. Official Super Merry Men. He was part of a lineup that included Little John, Will Scarlet, and Friar Tuck. It's funny, when these figures came out, I only remember seeing them one time, and it was at a Two Guys. Does anybody remember that store? And that was really the only time I remember seeing them in the stores. From what I understand, I don't think they sold very well here. I think they did better over in Europe, which is understandable because he's their guy. Now, at that time in 1975, I basically knew Robin Hood from the 1973 Walt Disney movie, the Looney Tunes cartoon where Daffy Duck played him, and the 1974 show that was produced by Mel Brooks called When Things Were Rotten, which was made decades before he did Men in Tights, and years before I saw what I consider to be the best Robin Hood movie ever made, 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. If you've never seen this movie, you should really do yourself a favor and check it out. It's it's a great film. It's got something for everybody. Really, the epitome of Hollywood's golden age. Okay, with that being said, let's get started. Now, I think this is a really good figure, but what always struck me as kind of odd was that the tights were orange. And I'm used to seeing, or I was used to seeing Robin Hood wearing green tights, so it was a little strange. So for this reboot, I was actually just going to change the suit. I picked one up off of eBay, and as you can see, it's missing pretty much everything. But I was just going to use the body and the head, so it really didn't matter. But then it got me thinking. It always seemed a little odd to me that in this lineup they never included a Sheriff of Nottingham. And I don't know, it's every hero needs a villain. So over the years, customizers would make their own versions of the Sheriff of Nottingham to include in the lineup. And they always used the same head. This one. This was Mego's Ivanhoe, also released in 1975 as part of the King Arthur and the Knight set or the World's Greatest Super Knights. Says it right on the box. The sculpt was based on the actor Robert Taylor, who did star in the movie Ivanhoe, but the armor and crests were actually the way he looked in the movie Knights of the Round Table. So every time I would see one of these Sheriff of Nottingham customs, I would think to myself, I would that would probably work better as Robin Hood, that head. Not that I think there's anything wrong with this head sculpt. It's very good, actually. But I'd like to use it for something else. So as luck would have it, I actually had one of these heads. I didn't get it for this reboot or anything. It was actually part of a lot. So I took the head and I modified it, and this is what I came up with. I like the way this came out. I think it's a much stronger sculpt, and it's really amazing how different they look with just by changing the hair color. It really gives it a whole new look. Okay, so now we have the head. Next up is the body. For this, I'm going to use the standard Mego body, but the one that they use for the Star Trek figures. Because of the pants, the way they were designed, they molded the lower legs into boots, which are going to be painted brown. Now, for the hat, I'm going to use the same one that he's wearing in this picture, but I'm going to use the one from the Little John figure. I like the brown much better than the green. For the pants, I'm going to use these. As I stated earlier, I don't really like the orange, so I'm going to fix that with a little Kelly Green Rit dye. For the top, I picked this up from CTVT, It was a reproduction made for a Davy Crockett figure, and I made a few modifications to it. For the belt, I'm going to go with this. It's same kind of belt that he originally had. It's a reproduction, but it's just black instead of green. I also picked up this bow and arrow set from CTVT Toys. I'll leave a link in the description. They're a little bit, I think the straps are a little bit thinner, but I wanted them in black, so I just went with this. I think this also fits the body better. So, okay, we got all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. Okay, I like this. It's kind of an old school Hollywood version of Robin Hood. I can get on board with that. I like the bootlegs. I think the tights look much better in green. I think the shirt looks good. I like the accessories better in black. And I prefer the hat in brown. I really like this sculpt. I really think it works better for this character. Again, not that the other one was so bad. I just think this works. The Robin Hood head I am going to use in the future, but that's for another episode. I got a real kick out of doing this one. I know a lot of modern interpretations of the character. They kind of show they're more realistic and gritty, and they kind of show how life was back then. Uh, I don't know. I'm sure it was awful. So I kind of like this that it's more of a throwback. Okay, I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember and never forget, think outside the box.